If you've spent time on veteran forums, you've seen the panic. Rumors are circulating that Congress is trying to cut your VA disability ratings. The document sparking all this anxiety is H.R. 9237. Specifically, it's Section 108 of the bill, which directly targets the rating criteria for two common conditions, sleep apnea and tinnitus. Before we get into the details, let's address the biggest fear right now. If you already hold a VA rating for either of these conditions, your rating is safe. You will not lose it. The text of the bill includes strict protection language. That means the proposed changes are entirely future-facing. This legislation doesn't reach back in time to threaten the benefits you've already secured. To understand how this works, we have to look at the bill's core mechanic, the filing date. Imagine a timeline. Right in the middle is a rigid vertical dividing line representing the exact moment this bill is signed into law.
If you submit your claim before that line, your application is evaluated under the existing rules we have today. What matters is when your paperwork enters the system, not when the VA finally processes it. Even if the VA takes a year to make a decision, a pre-enactment filing date legally anchors your claim to the older criteria. Because of how this mechanism works, knowing precisely when to submit your paperwork is the single strongest defense you have against these proposed changes. So, what actually happens to a sleep apnea claim filed after that line, under the new rules? This legislative text establishes a new 4-tier system. At the bottom, if you are diagnosed with sleep apnea, but the syndrome is asymptomatic, the VA will assign a 0% rating. If you have symptoms, but your prescribed treatment provides what the bill calls incomplete relief, that warrants a 10% rating. Hitting the 50% threshold requires strict conditions. Your treatment must be completely ineffective, or a comorbid condition, a separate medical issue, must prevent you from using it entirely, provided there is no end organ damage. To reach a 100% rating, the text mandates that the condition must have resulted in actual end organ damage. Under today's rules, simply being prescribed a CPAP machine often secures a 50% rating. If H.R. 9237 passes, compensation for sleep apnea will be based strictly on how well your treatment works, not just that a machine was prescribed. The bill doesn't stop there. Section 108 also targets tinnitus, the persistent ringing in the ears reported by millions of veterans. Looking at the proposed text, H.R. 9237 removes the ability to receive a standalone 10% disability rating exclusively for tinnitus. Instead, it creates a much narrower path. Tinnitus will only be compensable if a doctor officially diagnoses it in association with a service-connected hearing loss, and only if that underlying hearing loss doesn't already qualify for its own compensation. The VA is attempting to reclassify tinnitus from an independent, compensable disability into a dependent symptom of broader hearing loss. Let's bring this back to our timeline. On the right, you have these strict new medical criteria. On the left, you have the protected status of the current rules. The contrast between those two realities is why filing your claim before that deadline is vital. But here is the current legislative reality. H.R. 9237 is currently working its way through the House of Representatives. It has not passed the Senate, and it is not a law today. The threat this bill poses to future claims is real, but the legislative process gives you a window of time to act on your own terms, rather than waking up to a sudden change in your benefits. The best thing you can do right now is channel that anxiety into action. Review your medical records and prepare any pending claims today, while the bill is still just a proposal. If you want a plain English breakdown of Section 108 and how it might affect your specific situation, head over to HadIt.com. You can connect with other veterans who are navigating the exact same claims process. Congress can change the rules, but the best defense a veteran has is an informed, prepared, and connected community.